What's up, everybody? It is the Site B Engine Worker here, and today we are back with episode 4 of our Site B Mode series. Just to do a quick little recap of what happened last episode, we were actually on another part of Isla Sorna where we showcased the newly cloned Spinosauruses, and we also were able to observe some very aggressive velociraptors, specifically some super aggressive female velociraptors and how they hunted in their respective territories. But episode's three main focus was really on just the newly cloned Spinosauruses, and we talked a little bit about that one individual Spinosaurus that Dr. Alan Grant came in contact with back in 2001. So, anyways, this episode is actually going to be pretty exciting. Just to elaborate a little bit for those that haven't watched the previous episodes, my name is Kyle, and I work with a dinosaur cloning company called Engine. And what we do is that we go out into the mainland and we relocate any species that got loose onto the mainland after the eruption of Isla Nublar. But not only just that, we also look after the already established ecosystems on Isla Sorna, and we also add newly cloned dinosaurs to those ecosystems. So I say all that to say that we have officially cloned a new species and we are going to release it to the already established ecosystems. We're going to release it to the wild here on Isla Sorna. Now, usually before we release a dinosaur onto Isla Sorna, we look after it for a couple of months up to a year. As you guys know, our cloned animals grow at a very rapid pace. So we wait till they're just about in their adulthood before we release them into the wild. Usually, when we release a dinosaur into the wild, we pick a calm and cool collective area on Isla Sorna where it's not too packed with herbivores or carnivores or anything like that. So that is exactly what we're going to do today, and of course, we're going to explore this little area that we're in. So, anyways, without further ado, let's release our newly cloned dinosaur. So the newly cloned dinosaur that we got, that we actually just recently cloned, well, we cloned it over a year ago. These guys are probably going, well, I would say about 2 years ago, a year and some change. These guys are actually going on a 2 year mark, and as I said, we wait until they reach a certain maturity of age before we release them out into the wild. So we have some Kentrosauruses. We have females and we have males, and I believe altogether
Ladies and gentlemen, we are
we
pleased to
have
welcome a Kentrosaurus to the park.
I believe all, let me see, I'm just waiting until they come out before I try to do a count of how many there are. But as you can see, these two are our males, and well, I guess you can say three, and they are a lot bigger compared to the females. We're gonna go right ahead and we're gonna release the last batch. So before we count how many Kentrosauruses it is, we're gonna go ahead and get these gates open because as I said, we are officially releasing them out into the wild. And I'll give a little insight on why we chose to clone Kentrosaurus, of course. So yeah, so as I said, we usually just pick a tap back into our camera mode right quick. We usually, anytime we clone new dinosaurs, as I mentioned, Centaurosaurus was in the last episode, and that was a newly cloned dinosaur that we added to Isla Sorna. Anytime we clone,
Ladies and gentlemen,
give me
we are
1 second. Just tap back into this camera right quick. Okay, so yeah, anytime we clone new animals, we always release them on Isla Sorna, but we release them into like a more relaxing environment. So when we go and explore this area, you guys will see it's not heavily populated like other areas are here on Isla Sorna. So the reason why, and these guys, they're probably going to walk out of their enclosures anytime that they want once they smell that food and fresh water out there. But the reason why we chose to clone Kentrosaurus was because our scientists were really hard at work with extracting as much DNA from the already fossils, well, from the fossils that we already had of this beautiful animal. So we thought, this would be a good species to add to the island. It is one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. There's nine of them, and as I mentioned, even though these smaller ones they do look like babies or juveniles, they're actually not. These are actually our females, and the larger ones are the males. So some of them will already automatically be a mated pair and some of them won't be, but we release a certain amount of them. Well, we release a certain amount of them. That way, we clone a certain amount of them, and that way, when we release them in the wild, they have a higher success rate of, basically staying alive. But as I said in previous episodes, if anything was to fall back into extinction for whatever reason, or say for example the population of these Kentrosauruses, say their numbers would grow pretty low, we would do our due diligence by basically recloning more and releasing them out into the island or releasing them out into the wild. So yeah, we cloned 9 of them. I believe we have 4 males and 5 females, or maybe 3 males and 6 females. And the reason being that we clone more females than males is because it gives the males more opportunities to breed with more females. That way, their population grows a lot faster compared to it being a balance of both genders. So we have our males getting ready to make their way out of the gate. They probably smell that fresh water. Of course, the males are going to lead the way, and we have our females. We have our females not too far behind them, just still kind of grazing. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on these Kentrosauruses, and then of course we're going to explore this area. This is an area that I'm, relatively familiar with in the 3 years that I've been working here. Most of the species that we have, most of the newly cloned species that we have released out into the wild in the 3 years I've been working here has been in this area. But we have more compounds and stuff like that set up around this island that you guys will see in future episodes. So we have like our little areas of setup shop, and we keep everything monitored. We make sure we're keeping tabs on how many carnivores visit certain areas and stuff like that. So we have a female here that she hasn't decided to make her way out yet. And well, we have a few females actually that still haven't decided to make their way out. Let's see if all the males have made their way out. We have one female right here. We have 3 beautiful males. You can just see how much bigger they are compared to the females. We have another male right down here, and we have another male right here. I'm hoping that those females come out pretty soon. What we're going to end up doing is that we're going to go probably do something else here in this little proximity area. We're going to explore a little bit more of the area, and hopefully when we come back, all of these Kentrosauruses would have already walked out of this little enclosure. I do believe that's actually happening right now. We have the females kind of migrating out a little bit more. And once they all leave out, I'm going to get these gates closed back up so that way they don't, just constantly walk back and forth. Actually, speaking of that, we're going to close that gate. Going to get that gate closed up. Get that gate closed up. Tap back into our camera mode. And right now, all we have is our females in this area. We're going to see if any of our males made their... Nope. Well, none of our males have made their way out to the actual food, the vegetation, and the water or anything like that. But pretty sure it's really only a matter of time. We are, like I said, we are just releasing these Kentrosauruses into the wild, so they have to get used to their surroundings and expand their territory, and of course they have to. Well, they're going to learn to be able to interact with the other species and stuff that's already on this island. So we're going to give them some time. This was the highlight of the episode, obviously, to show off these beautiful Kentrosauruses and us releasing them into the wild for the first time. This is one of many in terms of how well this is. You just put it like this: you guys will see situations like this a lot where we'll bring a dinosaur back from extinction and release it out into the wild. So as I said, we'll come back to those Kentrosaurus. We'll give them time to basically expand their territory and stuff like that. So we're going to explore the rest of this proximity just like we always do in our past episodes. I mean, this is only episode 4, but as you guys know, if you're keeping up with the series, we pick a certain proximity here on Isla Sorna, and we go and we explore the entire area, see what animals are in the area, and we talk about those animals, and we observe their behaviors and stuff like that, and check out the ecosystem. So we have a beautiful female Triceratops, and I believe I just seen. So yes, we also have an Allure Titan, beautiful female Allure Titan, and this is a juvenile Pachycephalosaurus. See if there's anything down this this waterfall stream. I'm not seeing anything, but I am hearing some roars up here, so we're going to continue to check up here right quick. So we have an adult Pachycephalosaurus. We have Pachys all over the area. I'm not sure how many it could be, but as you can see, they're just migrating with the Allure Titans. Juvenile Pachycephalosauruses and adult Pachycephalosauruses. And I don't know if I mentioned before, but Allure Titans is some of my favorite Hadrosaurs. I do remember mentioning in episode 2 that they were one of the new dinosaurs that we actually introduced into the island, into Isla Sorna, in the 3 years that I've been working here. You know, of course, they weren't a part of the original engine list back in the 90s for the first theme park, and they weren't in the Jurassic World theme park from 2005 into 2015. So Allure Titan is a newly cloned dinosaur that we added. Oh crap, we actually have a carnivore, and it seems we just missed a kill actually. So this is actually a Metriacanthosaurus. Last time we seen a Metriacanthosaurus was episode 2. And I believe that was a male we seen in episode 2. And here's another male right here. He's actually a lone male. And you know, I'm not worried about those Kentrosauruses that we just released into the wild, you know, because I did mention that we usually, anytime we release a new herbivore, we always pick a relaxing area on Isla Sorna that doesn't have too much carnivore activity. But Metriacanthosaurus is not known to be a super aggressive carnivore, so I'm not really worried about him trying to go pick off those Kentrosauruses. He's obviously taking refuge amongst these Pachycephalosauruses and the Lord Titans. Oh, is he hunting again? Well, you see this juvenile Allure Titan. I mean, you see this adult Allure Titan trying to defend its juveniles. This is a female actually right here, you know. So this is something you'll see a lot, you know. Adults trying to defend their herbivore. I mean, their juveniles. She's actually chasing after the Metriacanthosaurus to try to steer him away from the juvenile. Oh, we lost him. Well, here's the mother. You know that always happens to us every time we try to. Okay, no. So he's still chasing after the juvenile. It seems that the mother has given up on trying to protect it. Okay, yeah. This juvenile is definitely running for us. Okay, so he's not giving up yet, you know. Usually when we try to catch these. Okay, so he just caught up with the juvenile. Usually when we try to catch these hunts between adults and juvenile, carnivores and juvenile herbivores, we always miss them in the trees or something like that, which is so annoying. So this is actually a female juvenile Allure Titan, and she does appear to be a tad bit wounded. You know, I'm assuming that the Metriacanthosaurus probably just went after her, but didn't really intend to actually kill her. Especially since he just fed on that juvenile, especially since he just fed on the adult Pachycephalosaurus. But at least we were able to catch the whole hunt. If you guys remember from episode 2, we were actually watching a Velociraptor hunt. And the Velociraptor chased the juvenile Edmontosaurus into the trees, and we missed the entire hunt completely. So anyways, we got some trikes, some juvenile trikes in this area as well. I can imagine that the Metriacanthosaurus probably would not choose to hunt on any of the trikes, because these are very, very, very strong herbivores, of course. So anyways, we're going to explore a little bit more of this area. This little proximity that we're in today, it's not a huge proximity, mainly because this is where we chose to release our Kentrosauruses. And it's more so of a calmer area here on Isla Sorna. What are these? Okay, so we have some juvenile Parasaurolophus, and as you can see, we have some, this is a male, this is a female. The male is he has a more grayer color to him. The more darker green Parasaurolophus are the females. And you see some juvenile Parasaurs just playing with each other and stuff like that, basically just being kids. So I can imagine that these parents, these adult Parasaurolophus are definitely aware of the Metriacanthosaurus's presence, which is why they're keeping a close eye out on their children. Let's go ahead and scope out the rest of this area and see what else we got. I see we have Beautiful female Brachiosaurus, along with some more Parasaurolophus. Beautiful, beautiful Brachiosaurus just grazing on some treetops. We actually have a Baryonyx as well. So this is actually a male Baryonyx. In these huge watering type of areas, you guys will always 10 times out of 10 see um, Suchomimus or Baryonyxes taking refuge in these huge watery type of areas. We have two females and a juvenile. There actually is another juvenile around, just to give a little insight on this family unit of Baryonyx. There's one male Baryonyx, and these are the two females that he's actually mated with. And you'll see that a lot on Isla Sorna. Sometimes you'll see a group of dinosaurs and you'll see more females than males, and that's just because it gives the males more opportunity to breed without causing conflict or without combating with other males. And to be able to breed with two female baryonyxes, it does take a lot. That has to be one special male baryonyx. And here's the other juvenile following right behind him. Well, actually, I could be wrong. Actually, maybe since he just tried to knock that juvenile over, this could actually be a whole entirely different male baryonyx than the one I was thinking of. Just like in the wild where you'll have grizzly bears kill the cubs of the female grizzly bears, or lions will kill the cubs of the lioness just to be able to mate with them, that's exactly what could be happening now because he knocked the juvenile baryonyx over, but he didn't kill it. So that might not be the father of this baryonyx group, like I thought it was. Anyways, we're gonna cross this river source and see what else we have in the area. We'll probably come back to that baryonyx family a little bit later, just like we're gonna come back to the Kentrosaurus, the group of Kentrosauruses that we just successfully released into the wild. As I already mentioned, we looked after those. Okay, so that's definitely the roar of a Tyrannosaur. Want to see if we can locate it. But as I mentioned, we look after those Kentrosauruses for about a year and a half before releasing them into the wild. Anyway, speaking of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, we have a female right here, and we have a male in the background. So this is actually a mated pair. As I mentioned, we keep a lot of tabs on a lot of our dinosaurs here on the island, especially in this area. So as I mentioned, this is a mated pair, and they do actually have juveniles. They have two actually, and if you can see some skeletal remains in the background because this is their nesting area. So anyways, this is actually pretty good because this is the first mated. We've seen Tyrannosaurs in the last couple episodes, but this is the first mated pair of Tyrannosaurs that you guys have actually seen. And you'll see them do this a lot, where they'll the male and female adults will kind of socialize with each other like that. But this is the first juvenile Tyrannosaurus that you guys have actually seen with a mated pair of Tyrannosaurs here in our Site B episode series. So we've been keeping tabs on this family unit of. Is that the other juvenile in the back? Okay, cool. I was hoping he was still alive because I didn't see him at first. But as I mentioned, we've been keeping tabs on this family unit of Tyrannosaurus for a while, and they chose, because they didn't give birth to these juveniles in this area of Isla Sorna, but this little proximity, as I mentioned, is such a calm and relaxing area. It's full of, herbivores and stuff like that. We have some Edmontosauruses over here. We have one, but I'm pretty sure there's more. Um, we have those Allure Titans that we've seen and those Parasaurolophus, and we only seen one Metriacanthosaurus. So that just goes to show that these Tyrannosaurs will travel far and wide across Isla Sorna to give their juveniles a better life, a better success rate at living. Now, speaking of these juveniles, they're actually both two male juveniles, and once they reach a certain age, which won't be long, but once they reach a certain age, they'll actually have to, start fending for themselves and stuff like that. So, because as I mentioned before, our animals here on Isla Sorna, the DNA and stuff that we clone them with allows them to grow at a very fast, rapid pace. So we're gonna check out. We're gonna come back to this Tyrannosaur family because I just think it's extremely cool how this is the first time that you guys are actually seeing not only a mated pair of Tyrannosaurs but two juvenile Tyrannosaurs in this Site B series. So we're gonna see what else is in their little nesting area. Then we're gonna come back to that mated pair of Tyrannosaurs, and I want to revisit those baryonyx, and we're gonna check on our Kentrosauruses to see if they maybe migrated out of their enclosure. So yeah, as I mentioned, we have more Edmontosauruses. Well, we only seen two, but I can only assume there's more. Yep. So we have a couple of juvenile Edmontosauruses. This one is very beautiful. I just love his dark coloration. So I mentioned in a couple episodes back, our female Edmontosauruses have smaller crests compared to our male Edmontosauruses. We're going to see if we can stumble across any males. Okay, so we also have some Stegosauruses. This is the third episode straight where we've come in contact with Stegosauruses, so it just goes to show how much they've migrated across Isla Sorna. This is a male, well, this is a female Stegosaurus, and our males have the more brighter plates and just a brighter body overall. So you can see them taking refuge a little ways away from the Tyrannosaurus. They're probably, obviously, fully aware of them, but probably just keeping their distance. I can imagine they wouldn't hesitate to defend their juveniles if they had to though. And we actually have a Struthomymus. And where there's one, see, I was just about to say where there's one Struth. Oh, and we have some Corythosaurus, so that's cool. So yeah, as you can see, this little area that the Tyrannosaurus in is absolutely thriving with herbivores. And here's one of our male Edmontosauruses with the larger crest, as I mentioned. Juvenile Edmontosauruses following their mother. So we're going to see if we can find any more of those Struthomymuses. We got another Corythosaur. The first Corythosaurus that we just seen was actually a male. This is another male. It's about 6 of them. There's no female Corythosauruses with them, and that's because they're actually a bachelor group of Corythosauruses. And if you don't know what that is, it's like seeing deers out in the wild. You see a lot of doe deers, but you see only a few buck deers, and that's what we call a bachelor group. They're male animals seeking refuge amongst each other until they find mates, basically. So here we have another Struthomymus just grazing here. Oh, we have some packies in the area as well. You can see them socializing with each other. So as I mentioned, this literally just goes to show how packed this Tyrannosaurus Rex nest is with, well, I'm not going to say nest. This whole entire area is not a Tyrannosaur nest, but this Tyrannosaur territory is extremely packed with herbivores. I was wondering where they went. So yeah, so we have the male patrolling the area as the female is resting in the background here. Let's see if we can stumble across those juveniles again. Usually they'll play kind of far away from the parents, but they usually won't go too far. But in this area, they don't really have anything to worry about for the simple fact that there's no other actual threats to these Tyrannosaurs. The Baryonyxes wouldn't even try to challenge the Tyrannosaurs, let alone the one lone Metriacanthosaurus that we've seen. Okay, so here's one of the juveniles. Just see how much he looks just like his dad, almost the same exact coloring, but the dad's coloring is a little bit more prominent, obviously, because he's a fully mature, a fully grown Tyrannosaur. I don't know if these guys had already fed, but if they did, we probably won't see them hunt. And unfortunately, in the couple of episodes that we have seen Tyrannosaurs in, we've always missed the hunts. So, like I said, if they have already fed, we will not be seeing these guys hunt. But I can imagine that they are actively hunting a lot for the simple fact that they have 2 juveniles that they have to look after. Have a male Edmontosaurus here. He probably got split away from the herd, probably being frightened by the Tyrannosaurus. I'm hoping if we just linger around the Tyrannosaurus, we'll maybe see a hunt or something like that. Also haven't seen the second juvenile yet, but I'm pretty sure he's not too far behind. see if we can stumble on them right quick. Or maybe this juvenile Tyrannosaur will actually lead us to him. We're just gonna see if we can find him. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have gone too far. Um, but these guys have been in this little proximity here on Isla Sorna for a while, so that I can imagine that the Juvies are very familiar with their home territory. It's like home turf. Wait, is this? Oh, okay, no, this is Stryphiomymes. For a minute, he looked like a juvenile Tyrannosaur. So yeah, this little proximity is absolutely thriving with herbivores. I definitely see why these Tyrannosaurs chose to raise their young here instead of other harsher environments that we've been to on Isla Sorna. For example, the last episode we were in heavy Spinosaurus territory. Here's one of those male Corythosauruses. Beautiful, beautiful animal. The last episode we were in heavy Spinosaurus territory with very, very aggressive velociraptors. But in this territory, obviously, it's more so just a lot of herbivores intermixing with each other. I'm very curious about that group of baryonyxes though, because is this that male? I believe this is the male. I at first thought that he was the father to those two juveniles and he was the one that courted those two females, but since he tried to injure one of the juveniles, I no longer think he's the father. He might have actually fought with the original dad and probably killed him, and he's probably still in the process of trying to court the two females, but they're obviously not okay with that yet. So I don't see the other female baryonyx, nor do I see the other two juvenile baryonyx. Whether he killed them or not is to be determined, because I don't see them. We're going to come back to this area. This area is not that huge. As I said, the highlight of this episode was just to release our newly cloned Kentrosaurus into the wild. We really want to showcase that with you guys. Figured you guys would really, really appreciate that. And so yeah, so they all migrated out, which is cool. Well, I'm assuming this is all of them. So, I'm glad we decided to come back. As I said, our females are a lot smaller than our males here. They're all just, bathing in the water and stuff like that. And as I mentioned, we successfully cloned 9 of them, looked after them for about a year and a half before releasing them into the wild, as of today. But as I mentioned, even though it's only 9 of them, if this specific group of Kentrosauruses were to go fall back into extinction, we will monitor them before their numbers could even get that low. As I said, some of these Kentrosauruses, some of these male and female individuals are already mated pairs. With that being said, that means the females will be will become pregnant very, very, very soon, and from there they will give birth. And our clone dinosaurs here, they grow at very rapid paces. So, you know, maybe next time we come in contact with these Kentrosauruses in future episodes, you guys will already start to see full family units with juveniles all over the place. We clone our dinosaurs that way in order to make sure that their survival rate is always at 100% here on Isla Sorna. You know, just to, go into a little bit of engine intel, as I said in the first episode, we no longer clone dinosaurs for parks that will eventually fail in the end, but we do have the green light from the government. As long as we keep our cloning and our activities and our projects on Isla Sorna, we're not causing any harm to anybody in the outside public, we can do what we want here on the island. All of this is really just science anyways, and because we have a lot of these fossils from these beautiful animals, we have the ability to extract as much DNA as we can and bring some of these animals back to life. So, that's just what we do here. It's our own little project. As I mentioned plenty times before, I've gotten a green light from my superiors to showcase this footage with you guys because we're not doing anything wrong. So anyways, here goes some more of those Brachiosauruses. When we passed through this area earlier, I believe we only seen one. I think I got distracted by those Baryonyxes. Here's the male right here, the very aggressive male that doesn't mind going out his way to hunt juvenile Baryonyx. Here's a female right here. I was hoping she probably, I mean, hopefully she lead us to where the juvenile Baryonyxes are. Hopefully they aren't dead. We have some Stryphiomymesis intermixing with those male Corythosauruses. So let's go catch back up with our Tyrannosaur family. We probably already missed a hunt. I probably jinxed it talking about they haven't fed yet, and we probably already missed a hunt, which is unfortunate because as I already mentioned, the couple of times we have seen Tyrannosaurs in our episodes, we miss a hunt every time. Here's a juvenile here. Juvenile male. He appears to be exhausted. We're going to try to find his parents right quick. Let me see. Where could his parents have gone? Can't be too far if he's just calmly resting. He doesn't look stressed out or anything like that. I'm going to search back into this little river stream. Where could those two Tyrannosaurs have gone? And we're actually going to get ready to wrap this episode up pretty soon. My last episode was 42 minutes. I don't mind making 40 minutes, but 40-minute episodes, but I always want to try to make these episodes at least 35 minutes at the very least. This was a more calmer episode because we were releasing some animals into the wild, and the area that we're in, if we have a larger area here on Isla Sorna that we're filming in, the episode is going to be a tad bit longer, but this is a very small area. And as I mentioned, the only reason why we were in this area is because this is just a calm area to, if we're recloning dinosaurs, we always try to choose areas to release them into the wild in. We always try to choose calm areas to release them into the wild in. That way we're not releasing them into, heavily populated areas with, a large amount of carnivores in the area. We're still searching for those adult Tyrannosaurs and technically that second juvenile Tyrannosaur. I don't know where they could have gone. Okay. All you have to do is listen out for that roar. So you have both of them grazing here. Just see how beautiful this male is. So yeah, they probably both already hunted. The female appears to be calling out to her juveniles. We haven't, as I said, we haven't seen that second one in the last couple minutes, the second juvenile. And as I already mentioned, both of them are males. Let me see. Hopefully, well, we already explored this entire proximity, so there aren't any other carnivores in the area that could have picked off one of the juvenile Tyrannosaurs, so I know that to be a fact. The Baryonyxes are still in the watery area, and the Metriacanthosaurus wouldn't have made the travel all the way over here, especially where Tyrannosaurus rexes are at. Now I'm not even seeing that first initial juvenile. Okay, here he is still resting. So yeah, so that juvenile Tyrannosaurus is actually still resting. And is this our other one? Oh wait, no. So there's no telling where the other one went. As I mentioned, this little territory that the Tyrannosaurus rexes have, they are extremely comfortable in this territory, which is why they claimed it as their own. So the juveniles will probably go far and wide in between this territory, and at the end of the day, it would only teach them to be more what's the word I'm looking for? It'll teach them to be more solitary in the end, because Tyrannosaurus rexes are not pack pack type dinosaurs like Allosauruses or maybe Metriocanthosaurus or Baryonyxes, because in episode 2 you guys did see a large group of Baryonyxes. I think it was at least 10. So I say all that to say these Tyrannosaurs don't mind when their juveniles go out of their way to explore their territory, because in the future and not far in the future, those Tyrannosaurs will soon become adults, and they'll have to seek out their own territories, and stray away from their parents, of course. So, anyways, we're probably going to wrap this episode up. The highlight of this episode was to really showcase those Kentrosauruses. I really wanted you guys to see me releasing those beautiful animals into the wild. It's the first of many that you guys will see as far as us releasing animals into the wild. As far as stuff that I have planned for the Site B series, you guys will just have to stay tuned, because I have a lot of stuff planned in terms of showing you guys the many different ecosystems here on the island. Um, like I said, I have a lot of stuff planned for the Site B series, and there's so much more to see here on Isla Sorna, so much more stuff to talk about, so many more other territories to explore. So, I have a lot of stuff planned for this series. As long as you guys just stay tuned, you guys will definitely. Oh, here's one of those juvenile baryonyxes. But I don't see the second one. Come think about it, I haven't seen the second one in a minute. So hopefully that male baryonyx, there's another one swimming in the background, adult. Hopefully that male baryonyx didn't take out one of the juvenile ones, because that would definitely be unfortunate. It would probably be in his best interest to maybe catch up with one of his parents, since we know that that male baryonyx is going out of his way to actually hunt the juveniles down. So yeah, as I mentioned, guys, definitely stay tuned. I have a lot planned for this series. This was a more calmer episode compared to our last two episodes, and that's mainly because this little proximity that we're on is a lot smaller compared to the other proximities that we're on. Usually when we release animals into the wild, we always try to choose a more calmer environment. So anyways, we are about to wrap this episode up. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to more Site B mode episode series videos in the future. Catch you guys later.